fixing things up.
Booming over here.
Yeah, my uncle just bought a cabin over in Jasper that he's fixing up over outside of Low Gap. It's just something kind of my family always does. Yeah, I mean, I want to do that. It's what I enjoy to do. I like working with my hands. I like fixing things up, and absolutely, yeah. That's again not. I don't think that's any. I'm not an idle person. I do a lot of things, and
You sound like me.
no, I enjoy that.
You want to score baseball?
Yeah, I played baseball. I always played baseball because I could run 90 feet at a time. It was hard. Basketball was hard, getting up and down the court, but I could do 90 feet at a time.
Now, if you don't win this election, what will you be doing? What job do you go to?
I'm not sure. I mean, as we noted earlier, I was working for Tom Cotton as his political director that I took a leave from. I hope to go back to that, win or lose, on this race and finish out that. And then beyond that, again, I said, I want to get my real estate license. I enjoy dabbling in that. I do enjoy my work in public service, though. I hope we have a Republican governor, regardless of who it is. I hope that we maintain majority in the House. And I just think that I want to stay engaged in the public process. I always plan on doing that, either not through elected office, which I'm now seeking, but I want to stay engaged, but I don't know how.
Now, here's a tough question for you, and I don't know if you've ever had this curveball thrown at you. Whatever job you take, if not elected, where will you get your health insurance? Would you sign up for Obamacare and the private option? Oh,
well, to be very frank, I hope I make more money than to qualify for the private option. I mean, that's limited to under 138% FPL, which for a single adult, it's about $15,000 a year. I don't know where I'd get my health insurance. I think it's a real question that a lot of Arkansans face, a lot of working Arkansans face. If your employer doesn't provide it, and if you're not on a state plan, where do you get that? It's something that I'll have to face.
Now, on the private option, I've got an audio clip I want you to hear. You may have to put those headphones on and check your volume here. We discussed this last time you were in town. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, then the volume must be set. Okay. This is what Tim Griffin has to say about private option. So start with private option.
Sure. Well, I've been real clear on this. I've had concerns about it since the first time it was debated. And my concerns are well documented, and the problem is they're still unanswered, in my view. First of all, from a federal perspective, which is my job now, I've looked behind the sort of the proverbial federal curtain, and there's no pot of money back there.
So is private option a mistake right now?
Well, there's no dedicated. I don't see how it's going to be funded. I mean, there's no dedicated funding stream at the federal level to fund Medicaid expansion generally.
Okay, and now Asa Hutchinson's come out in favor of it.
Well, I saw his comments. I have not discussed those with him yet, but let me lay out a couple of the other parts of it if I've got a second.
Yeah, go ahead, take your time.
So on the federal side, there is no dedicated funding stream. Medicaid is going bankrupt, and we've just expanded a program that's going bankrupt. I mean, you can argue about whether this in this state is Medicaid expansion or not, but the bottom line is, in terms of the money, in terms of who qualifies and all of that, it is, in fact, precisely that.
Oh, my goodness. Agree or disagree?
Well, there was a lot there. There's a lot of things that he said that I agree with, and Representative Griffin's a friend of mine and somebody who I agree with on many things. So, undoubtedly, here's where you have to start this conversation on the private option, which I assume is what we wanted to do here.
Yeah, we got about 5 minutes we can spend.
All right, very good. And then I'll close with lots of things like income tax, voter ID, and the pro-life legislation we passed. On private option, there's so many things in Obamacare that are bad, and here's where you have to start that. I can run through the stuff here. There's $600 million in Medicare cuts contained in ACA that are cut out of Arkansas. About $500 million in tax increases that are now active in January of 2014 in Arkansas. So $600 million Medicare cuts, $500 million in tax increases. You add in individual penalties, business penalties once they're actually implemented, the essential health benefit mandates that drive up that cost of health insurance that we're all seeing. When you add all that up, $1.25 billion ACA Obamacare.
Say it again, what was that?
$1.25 billion that Obamacare pulls out of Arkansas every year starting this year. That's $1.25 billion Barack Obama took from us in the form of tax increases and Medicare cuts. The tax increases hurt our businesses and our individuals. The Medicare cuts are absolutely killing our hospitals. Don't take my word for it. Go talk to your hospital. Don't take any politician's word for it. Go talk to the people out there in the field. So that's money that Barack Obama confiscated from Arkansas to pay for the mandated Medicaid expansion. Then the Supreme Court declared it optional. And so we said, about half the states said we'll expand Medicaid, which I think is a broken system for many reasons. About half the states didn't. Arkansas said, give us our money back, give us that $1.25 billion back, but give us a waiver to spend this money in the way that we want to. So we got what's called an 1115 waiver that allows for the premium assistance model, which is exactly what Paul Ryan advocates for on Medicare. It's very similar to Medicare Advantage if you're on that. It says, you give us these dollars, we're going to purchase private plans, privately managed, privately operated, and we're gonna buy health insurance, but we're going to do it through the private system, not expanding the government system. And we did it with those funds that Barack Obama took from us, those $1.25 billion. We took it back. We fixed the system. We did it our way with a lot of other reforms, including income verification, drug testing, cost sharing, and various other things.
What about, and I asked you this the other day about fraud. Let's say that somebody in Missouri that's needing health insurance and they live across state line. Then all they got to do is rent a house here, change their license plates, boom. Do we have to pay for it?
If they move here, then yes. But here's the issue, and this is the big picture question for me that led me to support the private option. We had an entitlement system before that encouraged all the wrong things. It passively encouraged people to not work, and it, in a lot of ways, encouraged people to game the system. In Arkansas, you had health insurance before the private option. You had health insurance through the state, Medicaid, if you had no income and had children. Over time, generation after generation, what does that do? It encourages people to not work. And if you did work, then you lost the benefit. Those types of systems discourage work, and over time they have a compounding effect. And we fixed it. Now, if you want to game the system, if you're the kind of person that's going to move to a state just to get health insurance, well, you could have done that before. But now, if you're out there, if you're working a minimum wage job, if you're trying to progress yourself through society, you have the means to do that. And we eliminated these cliffs for people that where if you can get a wage increase and not lose a benefit that costs you more than the actual wage increase cost. That's bad. That's a bad system. We fixed it.
Now, let me ask you, and I got to play devil's advocate. I'm going to ask you this respectfully because you're still a sitting member of the House and a candidate for Senate. The 2nd Congressional District said no to private option. Rick Crawford, Griffin, and I believe Womack all said no, 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 no. You know, and a lot of people went and listened to what they had to say. We just heard what Tim Griffin said. And we have this national congressional entourage saying no, no, no. Even the 2nd Congressional District Committee said no. They voted no. But we feel like that you and Johnny Key and Kelly and some of them did not listen to the will of the people overall, because basically 62 to 67% of the people said no. Whether we liked it or not, whether we agreed or disagreed with the mathematics in this thing, we said no because we feel that we have taken Obamacare on board in Arkansas.
Yeah. I haven't seen the 62 or 67% that you reference. I mean, the great thing about this is we have elections, right? So,
and let me point out, yeah. I disagreed respectfully with Johnny Kelly. You know, we're still friends. You know, but bottom line is we disagreed.
It is a very complex issue,
and the first round with Missy.
And I have supporters on both sides. For me, I have supporters pro private option. I have supporters that have said, you know what, we don't understand entirely. We may not agree, but we've seen you work on other things, and we're still going to support you. It's a tough issue, and and especially dealing with it on a state level, because if we could change the federal law, we need to. I hope we do. In the meantime, we're trying to do what's best for the state and our citizens, and that's what I felt like we did.
Stick around. We'll close out the show with John Burris, and we'll be right back. 7:52, closing out the show with Representative John Burris, now candidate for Senate Seat 17. Let's talk some successes. The abortion bills.
Yeah, absolutely. Closing out with the private option. I mean, and I appreciate the questions because, and leading into this next discussion, I've gotten a lot of support from all sides, people that are against the private option, and it's kind of what I'd ask you or your listeners want. It's let's talk about all the right things, and then on the private option, I don't want you to agree with me, but I guess I just want to explain why we did what we did, and then I'm happy when people say, you know what, Don't know if I'd have done the same thing, but I understand your point, and, let's talk about the other things.
Hey, I have to give Kelly and Johnny came in. They gave some good comments, and I appreciate those.
Yeah, and I mean, hey, that's the thing. Honest people can disagree, and on this issue, I think that's kind of where it is. Just try to do what was right for the state and the people. But moving on, all these other things to talk about, because conservatives have really good things that we need to be celebrating. We had the first Republican majority in 138 years.
Yay!
And I think we did more, frankly, than just about anybody could have imagined.
Had you did private option first and then all the good stuff.
You're probably right about that. Get the nasty
Come on, guys,
out of
get
the
it
way.
straight.
Yeah. So what do we do? Well, we passed the most pro-life legislation in the country, 12-week abortion ban. We passed a 20-week also. All of those came through my committee as chairman of public
what about
health.
the heartbeat bill?
The heartbeat bill passed, and then it's being litigated at this point. About 3 weeks ago, a judge struck it down.
Come on.
Yeah.
If there's a heartbeat, I don't care if you're a worm, a bird, a dog, or a person.
Right. Well, that was our point. And, Representative Ann Clemmer was the sponsor of that bill, and I feel like she presented it very well. She just said, we're not even debating whether or not you're pro-choice or pro-life. We're just saying, shouldn't there be a line somewhere, and shouldn't that line be at a heartbeat, which is 12 weeks?
By the way, for $10, we'll put your name on the back shiny right to life thing going in the back of the bulletin.
Right.
I want to do it.
That'd be great. I've been a big supporter of the Arkansas Right to Life. So we passed the most pro-life legislation in the country, 12-week abortion ban. We passed the largest income tax cut in the history of the state.
That needs to be done.
Yeah, income taxes are hard to cut because there's nobody down there lobbying for it. People are lobbying for their own sector-specific cut or break or exemption or credit. We passed the largest income tax cut in the history of the state, 3% of the budget when it's fully implemented. During my time in the House, I've co-sponsored and passed over $300 million in tax cuts. For context, that's 6% of the state budget. So that's 6% growth that didn't happen because of the tax cuts we've passed. We passed a voter ID legislation. We had to override a governor's veto to make it stand. We balanced the budget, and we left $100 million in the bank. We did so many other things, but at the end of the day, I think your Republican majority, we had to override 4 governors' vetoes. We passed a lot of tax cuts. We passed pro-life legislation. We passed pro-Second Amendment legislation. We balanced the budget and left money in the bank. I think that's what they elected us to do. That's what I want to continue to do in the state Senate.
Real quick, I'll try to get this done in a minute. Going back to private option real quick, it looks like what's going on is all the guys, men and women in the Senate and the House that are private option are supporting Asa Hutchinson for governor, while those that are against it are supporting Curtis Coleman.
I haven't seen that.
in that alignment.
I haven't analyzed it on a level to where I'd see that trend. I don't know. I mean, for me, the private option is not a defining issue of who I support. I'm working right now. Actually,
You're focused on Tom Cotton.
But I was going to say I'm supporting people in primaries that were opposed to the private option.
Right.
For me, it's just I kind of look big picture and just see, was this a member that was challenging the status quo, was working hard, do they add value? And if they do, I support them. I don't know where I don't do the decisions I make aren't made based on where they voted on the private option.
Real quick, 8 seconds, final thoughts. Putting you on the spot here.
I love North Central Arkansas. Thank you for having me in here today.
I hope you enjoyed breakfast.
I did. It was great. Coffee's good. I love growing up here. I love working here. I love representing the area. I hope I get to continue to do that in the state Senate, and I'd ask for your vote and everybody else that's listening.
Sound good. John Burris, Senate Seat 17. Tomorrow, Jack Clayton will be here. Hope you enjoyed Down on the Corner. Right now, we got the Rush Update, Rush Limbaugh's Update. See you tomorrow.